what's up? Hello everyone, it's Marisa here. So I did the Salkantay trek with this company, Salkantay Trekking. 5-day hike to Machu Picchu just earlier this month. It was my first time doing a trek like this. I'm not a huge hiker. I want to do something different, challenging. I've always wanted to see Machu Picchu, so this seemed like a really good way to go about it. I learned a lot, and I just thought I would share what I packed and little pieces of advice for anybody thinking of doing the same thing or a similar type of trek where you're not necessarily camping, but you are spending a majority of your day outside. First thing I want to cover is the things that I didn't pack, what I rented through the companies. First was a sleeping bag. I just thought it would be easier to rent the ones that they had there. They were totally fine. They also had liners to like keep you warm, so I definitely recommend that. Also was trekking poles. So some people brought their own trekking poles, but I didn't have them. I wasn't sure if I was going to want them, but I needed them so bad. I could not have done the hike without them, so they were definitely worth it for me. I used to think that hiking poles were needed if you were like older or, you know, had joint pain, but honestly, it's like really good to just protect your knees, especially when you're going downhill. So now on to what I packed. So first things first is a water bottle. I use an Ola like every day, but I would actually recommend bringing more of like this type of water bottle, a plasticky one that's like less heavy. And I would even recommend bringing two. They have water at the campsites for you to fill up on, but obviously you're drinking a lot, sweating, you need to stay hydrated. I recommend a big one. I did see one group of 2 people. They had one that they filled with water and another with cocoa leaf tea, which helps with altitude sickness, and I thought that was really smart. And then my friend had headlight flashlight, the flashlights that you can put on your head, and I thought that was helpful to have but not necessary. There are mornings like you get up really early at like 5 a.m. 4 a.m. to get ready for the hike, but if you don't have a flashlight, you can just use the flashlight on your phone. It's not a big deal. And then for cameras, I saw people bring all sorts of cameras. I personally brought my Canon G7X. Some people had the bigger cameras. I just think it would get heavy to have that all day. These sisters who were in our group, they had a disposable camera, which I thought was a good idea because those are super light. Also think if you have a nice phone, then you're totally fine there. They also recommend bringing a charging block, which I brought but ended up not even really using. But something that you definitely need is an adapter for if you're coming from America. They have different plugins there. So my friend that I was traveling with, she didn't have one, and so we just shared one between the 2 of us and it ended up being fine, but you definitely need at least one. In terms of bags, I borrowed my friend's backpack that was like specifically more of a hiking backpack. I can insert a picture if I can find one. It was from REI, but you don't want something that's too big because obviously you're carrying it. And I would say a nice to have is that it has the waist strap, so it's a little bit more secure. And then additionally, you don't have to do this, but I brought my like fanny pack that I wear a lot. This is the Uniqlo one. I think it's called like the crescent bag or something. But I liked having that close to me so I could like grab things if I needed it. You're definitely gonna want to pack sunscreen. I brought this one to like reapply during the day. People were definitely getting some sun because you're at a higher altitude. You're more likely to get sunburnt. So I put on my normal in the morning and then I would use this to reapply. You also want bug spray, a hand sanitizer, super necessary. Tissues. I got a bloody nose like every morning because of the high altitude and the dryness. So that was super necessary for me. I also bought Tic Tacs, just as like a me thing because I love Tic Tac. They do give you snacks, so that's really nice, but you can also bring your own. Actually brought a huge bag of snacks and then I left it at the second campsite, which was such a bummer. You honestly don't need a ton. Like I would say like a couple of granola bars, maybe a bag of trail mix. You're also going to want to bring some medicine. So my friend actually put this together as like part of a bachelorette gift, and it has all the meds you could possibly need. I would definitely bring some Advil, Dramamine if you get motion sickness, because you take a van for one of the days. The medicine for altitude sickness. I got a prescription here in the US and then ended up using all of it and then in Cusco. So I kind of wish I had more on me. You can get it at the stores there. Easier in my opinion to just get it beforehand. Okay, this is something I haven't seen anybody actually talk about when I looked at these videos before my trip, but you definitely want to bring like baby wipes or body wipes. The first night, the campsite doesn't have a shower, so you're obviously like sweaty from the hike. want to wash down a little bit. And then they give you toilet paper, like a roll of toilet paper, because a lot of the bathrooms don't have it, or you're like going in the wilderness. But this, in my opinion, is like a lot easier to carry around. Like my toilet paper roll got like super mushed up at the bottom of my bag, so this was just easier, and then obviously like cleans you up a little bit more. So I brought 1 pack of these, and my friend and I like went through it. So definitely recommend. And then this is obviously personal preference for what you need to sleep, but earplugs, eye masks, maybe even a sound machine if that's something that's helpful to you. You definitely want to try to get good sleep. Something I didn't realize about altitude sickness is that it makes it harder to sleep, or at least it did for me, and so anything to help you along with that I think is helpful. They give you a duffel bag. My friend and I were confused about this. We thought we were just supposed to give them a duffel bag full of stuff, but they have these specific duffel bags that they use throughout the journey, which makes sense because it's like they need to make sure they only have a certain amount of weight and things that they're carrying around with them. But you get 1 duffel bag. It's honestly not super large for all your clothes and whatever that you want them to carry, and then you have your backpack for yourself. It's not super large, so I didn't bring like my full normal toiletry bag. I just brought a Ziploc bag, and in there I tried to just do like the basics that you need. The campsite showers do have body wash and shampoo, or at least they did when I was there, so you don't really need to bring those types of things if you don't, unless you want your own. I definitely recommend though, like obviously like a hairbrush, and then a leave-in conditioner, like a razor if you want to shave, lotion, and you know, anything else you think you might need. All right, let's get into the clothes that I packed. Basically everyone is going to be wearing some sort of hiking boot or shoe. These are the ones I brought and wore every day. They're Keens. I went to REI and talked to someone in the shoe section, and these are what he recommended for me since I have a wider foot. I did start getting blisters on the last day, but I don't know if that's like user error or me versus the shoes. I tried to break them in, but obviously like I don't do a lot of hikes, and I live in the city, so like I was mostly walking on like concrete trying to break them in. I had these, which were such a lifesaver, and my mom actually had gotten these for me, but they're like blister cushions, and so once I thought I was getting a blister, I just put these on under my socks, and it prevented me from getting bad blisters. But my feet were kind of sore, but that's also just because I was hiking a lot, and when you're hiking downhill, which was a new experience for me, like I don't know, like it just kind of like get sore, and it was a very like pebbly path. There was a lot of super muddy, lots of horse poop. So you definitely want a tough shoe. I did see this guy with Crocs on at one point, and I was like, how are you doing this with Crocs? But I think he had other hiking boots maybe. Okay, and then with the boots, I wore a couple different types of socks. So everybody was talking about these like darn tough socks. I splurged on 1 pair. They're quite expensive. I think they're like $20-something for 1 pair of socks. Honestly, didn't really see the hype. And then I had these like thicker wool socks. I'm pretty sure these are made of wool for the cold days. And then my favorites actually were these that my mom got me. I think it's called like Dr. Motion, help with circulation, which I thought would be important for the altitude. So they're like a little bit tighter, but I really liked these. You definitely want to bring a fresh pair of socks for every day, and then a bag to put like your dirty ones in. I also brought a pair of sneakers with me, which I regret bringing because they're quite large, and so they took up a lot of space in my bag. But I was just like worried about the hiking boots, and I was like, I should have like a backup, but I really didn't need it. I mean, I guess if my blisters got really bad, maybe I would want to switch to them. And then lastly, these look gross, but these are my pair of Tevas. You want something to wear like at the campsites and like have a break from the hiking shoes, so that's what I picked. We also went to a hot spring, I think on day 3 or day 4, and so those were great to have there. The only thing is that they do the straps kind of retain water a bit, which is fine for the hot spring, but it was a little bit annoying when I stayed at the hostel before we started the trek, because I obviously was wearing them in the shower, and then they like stayed soggy for a while. One other thing, speaking of showering, you want to bring like a fast drying body towel. It's really funny because on the packing list they had a towel, and these girls in my group brought like a kitchen towel, but you need a body towel. It's kind of interesting because the lodging was quite nice, but they didn't have towels. I forgot about this almost until the last minute and I like panic ordered it like 2 days before leaving. Some things that they give you other than the toilet paper is they give you a trash bag to put dirty clothes in or whatever trash you have. Give you like a thing that you can put on your back so you like stand out more. It's like orange. And then they also give you a rain poncho. I actually packed a rain poncho as well, and like the cheap plasticky ones, and I'm glad I did because it ended up raining even though we went in dry season the first and the second day, and so it was nice not having to like dry out my poncho. I could just throw it away. I know it's like not ideal to have plastic like that, but I could just throw it away and then use the new dry one the next day. In terms of jackets, I brought this like black North Face raincoat, super lightweight, and then I brought my Patagonia pink puffer. Sorry, picture. That was a lifesaver for the first 2 days that were cold. My other layer that I wore was this Patagonia pullover. I wore this like basically every day. You want like a light type of pullover. I also like that this had a pocket so I could put like my wipes in there. A side note though is that there are a lot of places in Cusco area that like sell hiking gear, so you can get, and the places I saw, like, it was decently affordable compared to the US, so you can pick up stuff there if you'd like. Or this one girl in my group, she said she like got a lot of stuff secondhand. I also like borrowed stuff, like obviously I borrowed the bag and I borrowed some clothes. Also brought like a nice sweater that I have purchased in Cusco, but I only really wore that the last day at Machu Picchu. Under this, I have this long sleeve shirt that I wore I think 2 days. Just have these Lululemon dupe type bra tank tops that I like to wear, because then I like, they don't just have to be a bra, I can take it off and I feel fine wearing it if I'm hot. So those were great. I had those for like almost every day. And then yeah, this long sleeve is what I layered a lot. It was nice because it would keep me warm, but then also like cool, which is important because you go from mountains to jungles. This is from REI and I just kind of stole it from my boyfriend. But you need a swimsuit if you're going to the hot springs. So I brought a one piece and a bikini just because I was like not sure what I was going to be feeling, but I ended up wearing the bikini. They don't have like a super strict conservatory culture, so that ended up being fine. And then over that I brought this like plain black dress. I just like, if I'm in wet clothes, I just like don't like anything constricting, so this was nice for me. You could also bring like flowy shorts or something, or just like a t-shirt, but you definitely want to like think through like what you're gonna wear as like a cover up. I brought a pair of like biker shorts, but I ended up wearing pants most of the days just because I wanted to like try to avoid getting bug bites, but I do think it's worth bringing at least a pair of shorts. And then obviously you need to bring something to sleep in. When I was wearing pants, and for the first 2 days, you really want to bring a pair of long underwear to be layers. It was quite cold. Day 2, it was raining and then it was snowing when we got up in the mountains. I also have like the version of that for, I don't know where it is, but it's like a long sleeve and it has like the things for your thumbs to keep you extra warm for the top. When you're wearing the long underwear, at least in my opinion, like I want wider pants to go over it. So I really liked these ones. I had bought these for the trip. They're from REI. I just found them there and I was like, these will do. I wore these, and then the other pants that I bought, which I need to figure out how to wash these because they have certain rules, but these are supposed to be like a bug repellent brand. This is the brand. Oh my god, they smell so bad. But I like these because they were very like, I don't know, they have pockets and stuff. I wore these I think 2 days. I also brought a pair of like tight leggings, but I ended up not wearing those because again, like I didn't want to like layer them with the long underwear. And I brought a pair of like flare leggings, or like boot leg leggings, that I actually did wear one of the days. I had my own personal packing list that I was referencing here. I can like flash it on the screen, but yeah, make sure you have what you need. It's just going to be a better experience if you're more prepared. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. This hike was amazing. It was so beautiful. It was harder than I expected, but very worth it. If you have any questions otherwise about the experience, I'll link the company that I used below, but feel free to leave any comments if you have any questions. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.